It's become a bit toxic, that situation at Manchester United. I'll take Marcus Rashford.
I've seen the rumours about Rashford. Yeah, I don't think he wants to play for the club. And just in general, his work rate, his ethic, it's not good enough for an Arsenal fan.
I think there's very few people who have earned the chance to stay, to be honest. Kobe Mainoo, Garnacho, probably better it, to be honest. Dalot, maybe.
I'd get rid of Onana right now. Better keepers we could have got.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Football Trending, the football show from Joe. A big weekend of football. My team got battered again. Ben's team won, but it doesn't matter because they're in the Championship. Not a great result for the Spurs. Not a great end to the season for the Spurs, but we have to trust Ange. We have to trust the process. Trust the process.
Mate.
And it all became very irrelevant after last night's,
Battering.
absolute
Shit show.
decapitation
Pick your word.
at Crystal Palace, where Palace were 4-0 winners, but it wasn't just, the result. It was the performance. It was embarrassing.
Everything around it. Head loss.
It was a proper head loss. Yeah. And this comes after news that Manchester United have supposedly put their entire squad on the transfer list, and it looked like a performance of players that knew that they might be on that list. So we went out to ask the Manchester United public, who are you keeping from this squad?
Definitely keep Garnacho. Definitely keep Kobe. I'd keep Rashi. I'm a Rashi fan, me. Yes, he's not showing his best this year, but he has had some personal bereavements and stuff like that. I think he's one of the most talented players in the squad when he's on song. He showed that last year. I think with the right level of love, that man can still produce. I don't think he's world class, but I think he's very good.
Oh, that's a tough question. Definitely get rid of Martial. I don't know, I'd get rid of Onana right now. Better keepers we could have got.
I think there's very few people who have earned the chance to stay, to be honest. Kobe Mainoo, Garnacho, probably better it, to be honest. Dalot, maybe. Rashford, don't really put any effort in. Anything above 60 mil, I'd happily take it.
I know Bruno's a controversial one at the minute, but I keep Bruno. Mainoo, Garnacho, I keep. But I think we need a massive restructure.
Rashford.
The thing is, I really loved Rashford. Obviously last season, he was top scorer. Seems like he can't really be arsed some games.
I think Ineos should start afresh, just because with their model, it's very different. It's a very different business model than Man United have ever had before. We're going to start looking at unearthing hidden gems and getting younger players through, less expensive players through, and sort of building that whole model from the ground up. I don't think you should have elements of the old model when this big fresh new start that we've been waiting for ages is kicking off.
They're kind of consistent in the players that people seem to want to stay. It's Kobe Mainoo, it's Garnacho. I'm surprised Moore didn't say Højlund. I don't feel like you can really argue with what he's done.
Before his injury, Højlund was really kicking on. He was sort of goal. He was at goal again.
He's very Man United. He works that line constantly, makes those runs behind, and Bruno Fernandes didn't come up at all. No. I guess a lot of frustration with the midfield generally this season. I'm intrigued.
One of them said Bruno, and as a controversial.
It's a controversial.
Bit,
is that? I mean, look, he's definitely, he splits opinion. He's very frustrating at times, but he's a very good footballer. I would say he almost falls into that Paul Pogba of very good footballer, very broken team.
I think Fernandes is an interesting one because when he first came into this United team, I think he played slightly further forward and around the box. He was brilliant. The more responsibility he's had in terms of to play as an 8 a bit more, I think, and then also the captaincy, I think it's almost got on top of his quality a little bit. Maybe I find him a frustrating footballer to watch just because of the body language sometimes when it's not going their way. I actually don't.
It's tough.
It's tough.
It's an attitude thing for me.
Watching from the outside, it feels a bit performative. It feels like even if he is working hard, he's working hard so that he can say
he's working hard.
I've worked hard. He sprints, and then when someone else isn't sprinting, he chucks his arms about. And I think that overall, I think when Maguire was captain, he wasn't. I don't know. Maybe he was doing similar, but actually, it's really obvious with Bruno when he's not happy. And I don't necessarily think in the modern football world, in a modern dressing room, that's what you need potentially.
I think it would be very interesting to see how hard United go against kind of getting the bad apples out. You could argue that a lot of the rot that United have had over the last few years is because certain players weren't moved on. People like Cristiano Ronaldo were brought back to the club, and there's obviously been that quite toxic culture behind the scenes and on the pitch. And Bruno Fernandes is one of those players that outwardly shows that quite a lot, captain or not. So it'd be interesting to see whether this time they actually try and stamp it out or not.
I'm sure there are good eggs in that squad.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, there are.
But
to
not
get
all
rid
of
of bad eggs, that's not how football works. You
No,
can't
exactly.
just get
Yeah.
rid of a whole squad
Yeah.
in a summer.
Well,
like,
no.
it's a football manager.
You're absolutely right. And look, football fans are very, when it's not going well, burn it all down and start again. But that isn't how football works. And actually, most of the time, you don't need to do that. You just need to find that core, those core players who are going to drive you forward. And I think they thought that was Varane. I think they think, for a little bit it was Casemiro. But what they were supposed to be doing during that time when those players were starting to drop off was build the building blocks of who takes it on. And they haven't done that. They haven't found that. There was no mention of Lisandro Martinez there. He was brilliant.
He was good.
Prior
He's been good.
to lots of injuries. And you do then start to question, well, if we can't keep that player fit, do we have a problem there? Varane, they can't keep fit.
In any football team, in any workplace, you have leaders who, or influential people who will influence the rest of the people around them. So and then you have the people that are easily influenced, and those people you might be he's actually quite a good egg, but he's been led down the wrong path. I think the best example in recent years of a similar project is the Arsenal project, where someone like Granit Xhaka, pre-Arteta, sort of them doing okay, he was seen as the rotten apple. He was seen as a real problem. And then in that Arsenal team last season where it turned around, he became a leader within it. And I think that's what they need. Whoever is in charge, I don't think it will be Ten Hag, but whoever is the manager, whoever's behind the scenes at United, needs to identify those players and build around the really, really strong personalities that maybe aren't running the dressing room at the moment.
Yeah.
And then get rid of the bad apples over a period of time. Because that's actually Arteta's great success at Arsenal, is getting rid of people that he decided weren't good for the dressing room, weren't good for the culture, and bringing in players.
There's also a discussion about Erik Ten Hag not being the best at bringing in players. That's a discussion that's raised since his time at Ajax. He was that question was raised: can this guy bring a squad, revitalise a squad? And you look at some of the Man United signings, there's not much. Doesn't seem to be a lot of joined up thinking with some of them. So look, we'll see. Supposedly all their team is on the transfer list. And we were at Arsenal at the weekend, and so we asked their fans, if you could take any of those players, who would you take?
It's become a bit toxic, that situation at Manchester United. Quality player, decent competition for Martinelli, could play up front as well, take him in a heartbeat.
Anyone else?
Kobe Mainoo, we need a number 8. He's quality. You know what, Rasmus Højlund, there's a defo decent player in there. Take him as well.
I can't lie, I'd probably take Rashford, or young Kobe. I just feel like we could develop them, especially Kobe's young, we could do with that in the midfield maybe. Rashford as well, I feel we need some love around him, man. I feel like his time at United is done. I know there's competition for, he plays on the left, but if he could play on the right, learn to play on the right, or maybe up front, little false 9 role, I'd definitely take him, yeah.
What about Højlund? You guys are in for a striker. Jesus hasn't cut it. Højlund's been okay.
He's been okay, but do you know what? I feel like he deserves another chance, another full season at United to see what he can do. I just have an agenda against United, innit? So I don't want to take too many players. But yeah, I think Højlund, he's okay. We'll see how he does next season.
To be honest, no one.
No one, probably. I don't really like most of the players, to be honest.
No, probably not, no. Maybe Kobe Mainoo, but it's a bit unrealistic, isn't it? But no, I wouldn't take Rashford or Højlund, no.
I've seen the rumours about Rashford. Yeah, I don't think he wants to play for the club. And just in general, his work rate, his ethic, it's not good enough for an Arsenal fan. I just saw him live on Instagram with the rapper. He's not for this club. I forgot about Kobe Mainoo, to be honest. He is someone I would want. He's very good. I think he should start for the Euros with England, to be honest, next to Rice and Bellingham.
I like Martinez last season. I think he would be pretty good. But he's not really needed.
What about Mainoo, Højlund, Onana potentially?
I like Mainoo. Onana's a bit inconsistent. He's good, but I don't think he's at the level we need at the moment.
And would you want Rashford?
No, I don't like Rashford at all. No.
Very harsh on Rashford.
Harsh words from the Arsenal fans. I'll say this. I don't think they're massively wrong. Because I look at that Manchester United team and I looked at the Crystal Palace team, player for player last night, and I thought, how many of those would I genuinely take over their Manchester United counterpart?
In terms of the players on the pitch that any team would take, the top 2 are actually Elise and Eze.
Yeah.
Really.
But then I like Anderson at centre back over the nightmare that was happening for Manchester United. Yeah. I look at Tarek Mitchell at left back. I look at Wharton in the is it Wharton?
Yeah,
Wharton in the midfield. I mean, obviously young first proper season.
I feel like for United, it's a thing where if a lot of the players like Rashford, you've seen how good he is.
if he goes to clubs where the guy said if he's loved, I genuinely think he'll kick on. He's still 26.
Yeah, he's young enough to make it happen somewhere else.
Yeah, and I feel like if he goes to an Arsenal with like a better culture, I think he'll do so well. Because I feel like that United culture is just so toxic. Like
I completely agree. I'd like to see Rashford try somewhere else. I don't know if it will happen.
I would imagine for Rashford, what's really difficult is he's so ingrained in it. Like, it's like when you look at a piece of work, like you need to step back from it sometimes. And actually, Rashford needs to probably look at his own career and be like, I've actually done okay, even though the scrutiny makes me feel like he hasn't. Like, he's been more outspoken on Twitter and like on social this season about like criticism he's got, which means it's obviously getting through to him and getting to him in some way, shape, or form, which is a shame because overall, like, he actually is just quite a good bloke and really good at football. So
he's definitely a good bloke. All that stuff, people questioning his character is just complete fucking nonsense.
Agreed.
It's a non-starter. Like, again, players don't play badly on purpose. Also, if players don't just charge around the pitch like headless chickens, that's not professional football, and that is considered effort a lot of the time. If you're charging out of shape. But if you run out of shape, a professional football team plays through you. You can't just go chasing
working
the
smart
ball.
and not
it's
harder.
Working smart. Arsenal do it the best at the moment. When they're out of possession, they drop into a 4-4-2, basically 4-4-1-1. Odegaard and Havertz, they go one across the front two, and no one can play through them because there's no gaps. The gaps are so tight. If Rashford goes chasing the ball, which that's the suggestion, is that he should just go chasing the ball. Then it creates a big hole in the middle of the pitch for their central midfielder to just play as much as football as they want. But I would like to see him at Arsenal. I think that would be an interesting...
Arsenal are the most enticing club because of the Havertz as a case study.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, bit of a problem at Chelsea, taken out, and has actually basically been, alongside Rice, sort of the signing of the season. Like, it's sort of taking them out of environments and like taking young players, still coachable, still moldable, like getting them out of toxic environments and then being like, oh wow, like he would enjoy it, and then I think Arteta would enjoy the project as well. So I think Arsenal fans were the right set of fans to ask this question, because it was like, actually in England they're the most likely. I can see him going abroad. Like,
oh god, there's been so much talk of PSG, hasn't there?
PSG. But I sort of want the best for Rashford, because I think the best of Rashford is good for England as well. Like,
I agree.
On his day, he's unbelievable.
I'd like to see him have a go in with Harry Kane at Bayern Munich. I think that could be a nice environment. Anyway, there's lots and lots of clubs around Europe that would be interested in Marcus Rashford. But we asked Arsenal fans, how much would you be willing to pay for Marcus Rashford currently?
I'm not paying more than 50 for Rashford, man. I mean, English tax and all that nonsense, max 60, but any more than 60, forget it, because you pay 65 for Havertz or something, right? So
for me, 70 mil, 80 mil, fair price.
I hope 15 million. It's okay for me.
I think, about 50.
I think 40, 50 mil max. He hasn't been good the last couple of years. He has been good before. I think his prime, he's a brilliant player, he's a world-class player, and he really has it in him, but you need to bring it out. So if he's able to change and wants to work, I think for 40, 50 million pounds, why not?
I'd say like 40 mil, maybe. There's a lot of players who are really bad at United and then they transfer and they become really good. So I'd love to give it a shot, but at the moment I would say nothing more than like 50.
So an average of about 50 mil, I'd say, was the answer. I mean, transfer market have his value at 60 million euros at the moment, and that's kind of on the nose. I think that's probably where he's at. Some very good seasons of goal-scoring form, but a lack of consistency through his own play, through the team play. Where do you guys place him in that sort of...
I think 50 million is quite a bargain.
You think it's in the bargain?
I think they were trying to be bargain hunters there. For me, you're looking at 75, 80, based on a few things. He's at Man United, which everyone knows. When you buy a player from Man United, you're going to pay a bit more. They need to offset these players. His contract's in 2029, 2028.
He's got a
long-term deal.
He's got a long-term deal left. And the guy's right. English tax is a thing. You're going to pay more. So I would actually say you're looking at 75, 80 million. I kind of do think it's actually worth it. And like, if you put the player in the right team, I think at Arsenal he would kill it. So yeah, I'll say 75.
What is money anymore? Realistically, like some of the like some of the prices that you hear for players nowadays, and the whole thing is so skewed by how much United have paid for other people as well. Like, I think United would be looking at it going like, we need to offset the Antony signing with this Rashford deal, because like they've overspent so much. They'll probably be victims of financial fair play at some point, or get close to it quite consistently, or have been. So I think United will try and squeeze anyone for as much money as they can. He would be a great signing. So I think Arsenal, in that position as well, where they've been probably a bit weak in depth this year, because like Saka's looked knackered at points, and Martinelli's been injured, and they sort of lack that cover once Trossard comes in and starts. I think he'd be a perfect signing for that competition, and competition breeds consistency.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is where Rashford has actually suffered. He suffered because everyone beneath him has been fucking cat for the last 3 or 4 years.
He's suffered his goal. Just generally, he had 40 goal involvements in 56 games last season, which is obviously incredible. 30 goals and 10 assists. This year, it's 8 goals and 5 assists in 40 appearances. It's a drop off, but it's still, considering he's not just playing up top, he plays out on the wing. I think 60-70 mil is probably about fair, because you are still taking a risk on a player.
Because it's a longer contract, and because, as you said before, he is so ingrained in Manchester United as a club and the kind of local culture around it, they won't feel like they have to get rid of him. So if their valuation isn't met, because he's on a long contract, he won't go.
He's come through the academy. He's been there forever.
Yeah.
You want to succeed there. You want to be seen as a success there more than anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I understand if he says, I don't want to go anywhere. And he, like you said, he already has. He already has, relatively. And the other problem is with Euros, there won't be a load of time to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Because let's hope England go deep into it. So one of the big stories from last week was that the Premier League were discussing the option of potentially playing one of the games in the USA ahead of next season or the season after. There's been a fair bit of pushback this side of the Atlantic, and we went to Arsenal to ask fans how they feel about the idea of having a game abroad.
It's all money, isn't it? Commercialise the game, but for me, it has to be in England.
The stadiums are here, the English clubs, like the fans, they can't travel all the way to America, so I think they should just keep it here.
It's for the fans better, it's cheaper, so keep it here.
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. It depends on when they try to schedule all these games, because players are going to be tired, all the travelling, it's just going to cause a whole load of nonsense, but it will be interesting, maybe like a little all-star game, I don't know.
I think that's a very bad thing. You should keep it here. Like, if you walk around here, it's just such a nice vibe. We're from Amsterdam, so coming here and seeing everybody so happy and so together is amazing. And if you put it to America, you just take away the sport from the people here.
Yeah, the passion here is just amazing, and I don't think that's there in America yet. And also the times at the games that we played is very difficult to watch in Amsterdam, but also here in London, just difficult to watch and be really annoying. So I prefer to just stay here.
Where does it end is the thing. Like, they'll mark it as an extra game, and then within 5 years it will be 10 games, and then it will just keep going and going and going. It's fucking ridiculous. I hate it. I hate it.
Tells me you really think.
Yeah,
I actually do agree with you for once. My thing is we don't need it to be played there. It's like you simply don't need it. Like, NBA gets played, or they're trying to play it in London. That's because they're trying to get into that London market. We've already have like a huge American market, so why are we now playing games in America?
It's part of the obsession with growth. Like, if you talk to anyone that works at Premier League clubs as well, where the money is, like, basically they've got a saturated market in the UK. Football is the biggest sport. Everyone that could be interested in football is already interested in football. Where there is opportunity for growth and where the justification for it is, people in America still don't like the Premier League, so that they go looking for this untapped market. What is difficult is, I actually think one of the great things about the Premier League is that it is the global league to an extent. It's watched around the world by fans in Asia, Africa, America, etc., etc. The reason that it is loved is because of the support and because of the English pyramid, because of all the things that make English football unique.
Yeah.
And because there's an argument where actually it's not necessarily about the standard of football, because La Liga and the Bundesliga and wherever else are of equivalent standard at the top level of it.
Yeah.
It's about the atmosphere. It's about the pace of it. And as soon as you take out the fans in the stadium that are the roots of that club, the game gets worse to watch. It's like watching a friendly, it's like watching an exhibition game. It basically takes out any sort of like oomph that the game has as soon as you take it out to be watched solely by tourists. Because like Ange said it the other week about tourists, where he's like, don't go after it too much, because actually it's great you supporting the club, but actually a whole ground full of people that are watching the game in that way is not good for the atmosphere and not good for the product that the TV are selling. I think the Premier League has to be really careful when they talk about this.
There's like almost 100 million undecided US football fans. They don't know what team they're going to support. They don't know which club to go after, and really that's all that matters. Is that's money on the table. It will be made by a financial decision. There'll be a load of hoo-ha about it. Loads of fans will kick back and nothing will happen, and it will just become like a part of the... It'll either be right at the start of the season and it will be... The thing is, it's not going to be Luton versus Ipswich, is it? It's going to be Man United versus Arsenal. It's going because that's the game they want to see. They don't want to see, they don't want to see Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich, even though that's a Premier League game, a big Premier League game.
The guy mentioned having like an all-star game at the end of the year. I think that works. You said it before the show about like they have the Premier League Summer Series. Yeah. And then everyone just plays their kids, and I'm like, I don't want to pay to watch these. No, and I do sympathise with that. I do sympathise with that, yeah.
There's definitely a way it can be done where it appeases both. I think the game is being like taken from its roots. Effectively, it's commercialisation is dragging.
Hasn't it already?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, it already is. And like, my personal sort of opinion on football is like, I watch the Premier League and I sort of take it in, but I like watching non-league football, and I think I'm moving more and more down the pyramid, because I think what I think football is not. It doesn't really exist too much in the Premier League anymore. The Premier League is an incredible product, and I love it. But actually, where I actually
not
think,
in it. That's why.
Well, yeah, I mean, as my team has gone down,
trying to get in it.
But where I find actual enjoyment out of football is in the grassroots game, and like it's more akin to
100%
to what I think football should be, and like the ideals and like stories about we talk about Man United today. FC United of Manchester is a club born out of this in the mid-noughties. And it's only gotten worse. It's only gotten more commercial in the last 20, 25 years. And I don't think it's going to change, which is sad. But my only hope is actually stuff like this and the European Super League, where there was mass protest. There was like demonstrations.
I think there would be protests. I think there would be demonstrations, because season ticket holders would be like, we are getting less bang for our buck. And there'll be offers like, oh, we can subsidise certain elements. But really, that's not what a season ticket holder pays that money so they can go and hang out with their friends, go to the game. That sense of community that you were talking about, that's what having a season ticket is about. Because you might get one in a row of people you've never met before, and you might get it 6 years running, and you start to meet the people around, you start to understand where they're from, where they're coming for the game. Oh, we're going to start hanging out after the game. Like, that's what having a season ticket, and this just destroys that. And I think that's the difference between a lot of American sports and this, especially when you talk about something like the NBA or the MLB, because those games happen so regularly. There's like 6, 7, 8, and then and get people don't go to every game, and the invite, like you said about the atmosphere. The atmosphere's slower. People are getting up, going and getting a drink. They're walking around. Like a 90-minute football match, you're locked in, and you're locked in with the people around you. And so I think that's just something they have to be really conscious about.
I think football fans need to start to understand their real value. In this country, it's like actually, and I think I learned about it a few years ago. It's called like the gaze, where actually it's like Gogglebox. The theory of Gogglebox is actually, it's fun watching people watch something else, watching their reactions to big events. So football fans are part of the product. So as soon as you understand that actually the fact that I'm there contributing to the atmosphere is part of the product, you're basically like an extra in a movie. Is like the part you play. So there's an argument that actually football fans, instead of being like a ticket price, instead of being like consumers, they are participants. And like I've always thought that actually football clubs should be bringing down ticket prices as like a, look, you've made this product what it is. And I think it's so awful when you see like ticket prices going up and up and up alongside astronomical TV prices, when you're charging people who are contributing to your revenue in another area. Honestly, I think it's fucking disgusting, the business of football and like the exploitation of fans.
Yeah.
It's pissed me off for years, but there's no I don't see like a mass understanding among football fans because they just love their club so much. It's just like they're always just going to go there, watch the game, want the team to win, and to actually draw yourself away from that is so tough. Like to have that sort of, to be able to step back. But it's just, I just find it so fucking sad. And it's, as we say, unless there is like mass protest or unless there's something new that happens or like a change of attitude from a Premier League independent regulator, it doesn't feel like it's going to change until football fans sort of realise their own value.
Well, we'll see, won't we? We will see. One thing we can confirm is that Birmingham City versus Wrexham will probably be played somewhere in the US next year. League One,
biggest stadium in America.
Let's go Birmingham. They're playing Birmingham, Alabama. That's all we got time for today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, make sure to comment and subscribe. And also, get in the comments and talk to us about what game do you want us to see. The end of the season is coming up. We are going to the Champions League final. We are going to be there on the last day of the season. Let's see if Arsenal win it. Let's see if Man City win it. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.